Yes, sir.
Finally,
Please continue.
finally, I would conclude my talk here that in the present pandemic of COVID-19, the world needs yoga more than ever. The Ministry of External Affairs has given several advisory to its missions abroad, and it has disseminated the knowledge and information about how yoga can lead to boost human immunity and how yoga can lead to stop and you can say lower down the killings in this pandemic of COVID-19. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, I think Mr. Rohan Kumar has not yet connected. Yeah, he is here. Hello, Rohan sir, am I audible? Hello, Rohan sir, am I audible?
Hello. Yeah. Now I can
Yeah.
hear you.
Yeah. So our second panelist is Mr. Dr. Rohan Kumar. Sir, over to you.
No. I have not submitted my thesis yet. So
Okay.
don't call me Rohan right now.
Okay. Sir, over to you.
Yeah. Thanks. Thank you. Respected Sanjay sir, it's an honor to speak in your presence. So I will be speaking on, and dear panelists. So friends, I will be speaking on cultural renaissance in India through yoga, right? So as my friend Mr. Arvind Misra elicited how Mr. Modi as Prime Minister has taken yoga to an altogether different pedestal. His sustained efforts to bring laurels to Indian traditions, culture, notably yoga, deserves all the accolade. So friends, I will be speaking on the inward journey of yoga in India since 2005, right? Because that was the first time when we saw Baba Ramdev coming on television early in the morning and serving yoga to all of us in our television sets. So before the advent of Baba Ramdev, yoga was considered as something very sacred, profane, something which has lots of complexities with it, and something which cannot be learned by common masses. But Swami Ramdev simplified it. Swami Ramdev served it in our drawing rooms. We don't have to go anywhere else, but just learn the nuances, intricacies of yoga sitting in our living rooms without paying a single penny. So, what Swami Ramdev has done to our country through yoga can hardly ever be measured in words. So, friend, first of all, what is yoga? I mean, in very simpler words, in layman's language, yoga is a blend of respiratory and physical exercises. With physical exercises, we mean the asanas we do, the Arth Chakrasana, the Pavan Muktasana, the Gaur Mukhasana, the Bakrasana, all these, the Surya Namaskar, the most important asana. So the asanas in which we involve our body, we do a lot of effort, we sweat a lot, we do exercises are within the physical domain of yoga. And the pranayams we do is within the respiratory domain of yoga. So in very simple words, if you have to segregate yoga into two organs, then the first would be physical and the second one would be respiratory. Meditation is again a very important ingredient of yoga, because while meditating, you concentrate on zero. You concentrate on something which does not exist. And you take your mind, body, heart, and soul to an altogether different pedestal. So, meditation is almost the most important and most sacred form of yoga, which is very hard to practice because it requires lots of concentration, it requires lots of focus, and it requires complete detachment from worldly affairs when you are practicing it. So, friends, what meditation is? Meditation is something which you do with complete dedication, determination,
resolution, and focus. So it's not that when you are sitting in a posture or practicing yoga, then only you are doing meditation. I mean, you can cite several examples. When Tendulkar used to bat at the middle against the most firesome bowlers, he was meditating. He was concentrating on the field. He was concentrating on the bowlers. And by doing that, he was meditating. When you listen to Muhammad Rafi songs, you will find that Rafi is not only singing, he is meditating. Similarly, when Prime Minister Modi do Mann Ki Baat, he's so ingrained into it that you get the feel that he's not speaking, he's meditating. So meditation, my friends, have got different nuances, different manifestations. So the common thinking that meditation for you need to go on some desolated place like a monk on the mountain. No, you can meditate by doing anything which you are really good at. So if you love cooking, while cooking you can meditate. If you love doing anything which is in which you are really good, then while performing that art, you are meditating. So yoga is such a beautiful thing that to practice yoga, you don't have to toil real hard or to learn some magic. Yoga comes naturally to us because we practice yoga when we are doing something with complete determination. So for doing that, we must be thankful and we must express our gratitude to Swami Ramdev, who simplified yoga and served it in a platter to our drawing rooms. Now, another aspect for which Baba Ramdev has to be credited is that how he cured diseases. You know, friends, India, especially the Hindi heartland, we are obsessed with medicine. For simple cold and cough, we rush to doctors and bring lots of colorful tablets and medicines just for our satisfaction. But Swami Ramdev taught us that, well, if you do certain asanas, if you do certain yoga, and if you take some uh, eatables which are made at home, then you can have a ready-made cure for those diseases without any side effect. And by doing so, you will also build your immunity. So after Swami Ramdev promised and said such things on television, earlier people did not believe him, but some did. And those who did could see that magic happened to them. Their bodies suddenly transformed, their mind transformed, they become a lot more stronger. And also the medicines which they used to pay to the chemist, now they don't have to pay for that because they had built their immunity power in such a way that diseases could never happen to them. So by doing that, you know, the sales graph of many allopathic medicine got down nosedive because of Swami Ramdev's crusade. That cultural renaissance. What cultural renaissance is, how yoga is an integral part of our religion, and how it led to our own bolstering of our mind, thought about our own past. Instead of copying the West, we turn the leaf of our past, as Swami Dayanand Saraswati had said, that go back to Vedas. So after the inductment of yoga, after the refill of yoga in our lives, we also started turning pages of our past. So how yoga was served with Hindu nationalism, symbolism, we'll take a look. We had a great saint in our philosophy, in our spiritual history, Swami Vivekanand. Swami Vivekanand was a yogi. Swami Vivekanand, am I audible? Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Carry on.
Yeah. So Swami Vivekanand did that. He went to Chicago for at the All Religion Conference, and there he spoke volumes about yoga. And that was the first time probably that yoga on record had met global exposure. I'm saying on record. That means that before him also, there might have been cultural exchanges, there might have been spiritual exchanges, but this was for the first time on record when Swami Vivekananda traveled to USA, that yoga was inducted to them. And the speech which he delivered at Chicago conference is still rated by many philosophers, historians, spiritual bodies as one of the finest speech ever delivered by any saint. Now, another Swami I'm talking about, Swami Dayanand Saraswati. Swami Dayanand Saraswati practiced yoga like anything. He was a complete yogi, and he had tamed his body, mind, and he had become such a gigantic presence in Indian scene just and purely because of yoga, that Swami Dayanand Saraswati also needs a lot of regards and accolade for that. In contemporary times, there are 3 yogis who are practicing yoga blended with politics. The first is Swami Ramdev. The second is Ravi Shankar. Okay, now you might be wondering what is the difference between Ravi Shankar's mode of yoga, that is Sudarshan Kriya, and Swami Ramdev's mode of yoga. Ravi Shankar has a packaging of secrecy around his Sudarshan Kriya, in which only the participants of the Art of Living classes who are going there, a regular membership who pay there, can learn that Kriya. But for Baba Ramdev, that was not the case. And so that was the beauty of Baba. He was in BHU last year, and I had the privilege of seeing him. So Sadhguru Jaggi also did a lot to reinvent, to redemonstrate the magic of yoga to the masses. Another saint is Sat Sai Baba. He's no more between us, but I had the privilege of going to his main ashram in Puttaparthi, that's in Andhra Pradesh. So I saw that even there early in the morning, all the students of his university, his schools, and his devotees used to practice yoga for more than 1 hour. So and a lot of them, his devotees were foreigners. So they also used to practice yoga. So again, this is the third example where a spiritual saint of new days has practiced yoga and served them in platter. Now, there is one question which you may ask, that why yoga is so popular among Hindus only, or are the Muslims also equally comfortable with yoga? This is one question which we need to ask. Friends, first thing is that our yoga is blended with our religion. Most of the mantras we chant starts with Om. The yogic mantra, that's Mahamrityunjay mantra, Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvaruk Vibandhanat Mrityor Moksham Amritat. This is the emblem of yoga, this mantra. But Muslims somehow are not comfortable chanting Hindu mantras or evoking Hindu gods. And that's why they are little bit reluctant or hesitant to practice yoga in its spiritual form. That's why Surya Namaskar, which is the complete asana, because while doing Surya Namaskar, you are not only praying to the sun god, but you are also getting a lot of vitamin D, because this is asana is done early in the morning when the sun is rising. So Surya Namaskar is a great asana, but somehow Muslims are reluctant to do that because they think that by doing so, they may be worshipping Hindu god, and by that they may be, converting to some other religion inadvertently. So that is about Surya Namaskar. Now the third point would be yoga, politics, and Hindu Renaissance. I mean, friends, do you think that with the rise of Prime Minister Modi at Indian national level, yoga was more glorified than ever before? I think so. Because during the election campaign, when Modi was not the Prime Minister, but the elections dates were announced, we could often see Modi ji practicing yoga or doing meditation, performing simple yogasanas, which we can do at home, the Padmasana. So we all Indians felt that this is the time to elect a prime minister who is here to glorify our past, our traditions, our culture, and instead of blindly following the West, he is bringing our own practices to the fore. And this is where Prime Minister Modi really clinched a deal with the Indians, because by doing that, he struck a chord with the Indians all over the world. That's why, not just in India, NRI living anywhere. You see, I have been in Sweden for 6 months. I teach American students. I have been to Africa, and everywhere I went, I met a lot of the Indian diaspora, and they were so proud. They were so proud of Mr. Modi because he dished yoga to our platter. He is someone who glorified our past. He is someone who said that, well, yes, you can follow the West, you can learn good things from the West, but always bear in mind that our traditions, our culture, our asanas, yoga is something which we should really feel proud of. And he fashioned yoga. You see, after that, so many Bollywood actors, if you say Shilpa Shetty released her CD doing yoga. Aishwarya Rai started doing yoga and demonstrated it. So what happened that before yoga, which was only the privilege of the elite and who rarely shared them with the masses, this time yoga became a general thing, right? Yoga became a general thing. See, our first Prime Minister, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, also practiced yoga. You could see his picture of doing Sirshasan. Sirshasan is the most difficult asanas of all. But Nehru did not felt the urge to share this with India, that we should also do that. Nehru or something which might not have struck him. So it's not that the current dispensation at the helm of affairs is the first to practice yoga. No, there have been past precedents. But this dispensation, what they have done is that they have brought it to our drawing rooms, they have brought it to our living rooms, where we can do it without any complications, without any glitches, and can do a lot of self-fulfillment. Now, the most important part of this presentation is how yoga curbed the uses of medicine. Friends, you know, there are so many diseases. There's a saying that most of the diseases emanate from the stomach. So we used to buy lots of medicines. We used to get access to a lot of things which was not needed. But once yoga was served to us, those medicines were swept out our houses, and we started practicing yoga, and that only built our immunity, and the diseases were thrown apart. So, you know, yoga has a very simple funda that most of the diseases emanate from our stomach. This belly is the root cause of most of the diseases, indirectly or directly. So if our stomach is clean, our mind, body, heart and soul is pure, then calamities apart, we will never get any ailment. So once we started believing in our art, our traditions, yoga, then what happened? That yoga became really good. Yes, Mr. Yes, Abhinav, I am concluding. Thank you so much, friends, for giving me this opportunity to speak to you. I had a lot to speak, but you know, time is always a constraint during such talks. But anyways, thank you, Abhay, and thank you, Animesh, for inviting me for the talk. And my regards to respected Sanjay sir. Thank you, friends. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. As you must be knowing that we have a limited amount of time. So,
Yes.
yes, sir. So moving to our next speaker, I would invite Kriti Tripathi to keep her views on the topic. Kriti?
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Sorry, Abhay, I am totally unable to listen anything right now.
Oh, can you hear me? Hello?
I'm unable to listen anything, Abhay.
It's showing that your network is low. Please re-log in.
Hello.
Yeah, can you listen to me now?
Yeah. Abhay, I can listen you. Can you listen and see me right now?
Yeah, yes, you can continue.
Okay. Thank you so much. And first of all, sorry for this technological disturbance. Now let me start. First of all, a very good afternoon to good evening to everyone. Honorable Professor Sanjay Singh sir, Sanjay Srivastav sir, learned co-panelist, informed audience. I'm Kriti Tripathi, and I thank this forum for allowing me to express my views over the topic that yoga as India's soft power and cultural diplomacy. I heard the two beautiful presentations before me, and they were amazing. And Arvind sir has beautifully said what Indian government has been doing, what should be done, and Rohan sir has told about the cultural renaissance. So here I present my view. First of all, we have to understand what is soft power. See, the concept has been given by Joseph Nye in 1980s. By this, he meant that soft power is something through which we exercise our influence over others, not by coercion or fear, but by love and respect, by gaining love and respect. And when we talk about the components of soft power, we see that components are ideology, our culture, our food, our history, our literature, and everything that is other than military and economy. Now, let me tell you what is the importance of soft power. See, it makes our presence felt in the world. It makes our world image. हम सभी ने सुना होगा अमेरिका के बारे में, अमेरिका की राइज के बारे में. Do we think that अमेरिका का ये राइज was only because of its military and its economy? The answer is no. अमेरिका का राइज हुआ उसके सॉफ्ट पावर के कारण भी, उसके कल्चर के कारण, उसके फूड के कारण, हॉलीवुड के कारण, उनकी आइडियोलॉजी के कारण. जब आप आज किसी बच्चे से पूछेंगे विदेश का मतलब, तो वो कहता है विदेश का मतलब मुझे अमेरिका जाना है. दैट्स इट. दिस इज द इम्पोर्टेंस ऑफ सॉफ्ट पावर, कि जिसने अमेरिका को ना सिर्फ विश्व का एक सुपर पावर बनाया, बट उसने अमेरिका की इकोनॉमी को भी काफी ज्यादा गेन करने का मौका दिया. एंड सो जब भी आप सुनते हैं कि बेस्ट एंड ब्राइटेस्ट गो टू अमेरिका, it is not an exaggeration, and this is all because of soft power. As Sanjay sir has previously said, कि जब hard power fail हो जाती है, then comes soft power to the rescue of nation. Now let me come to yoga. First of all, I would like to say that it is a diplomatic victory of India that hello Abhay, can you listen me? Am I audible? Hello
Yes, you're audible.
Abhay?
Yeah, you can continue.
Okay. So now continuing. Okay, thank you. So as I was saying that yoga is a diplomatic victory for India, because on 21st June the whole world is celebrating International Day for yoga. Yoga is a very important component of our soft power, our presence felt. Our revered Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi has once said that many countries which do not know our language, which do not know our tradition or culture, are connecting to India through our yoga. This is very apt and very true. हम देखते हैं कि स्वामी विवेकानंद के शिकागो के भाषण के जरिए योगा की जो जर्नी शुरू होती है, वो औरोबिंदो घोष के योगा को प्रमोट करने से लेकर बीटल्स के ऋषिकेश विजिट के साथ पॉपुलराइज होती है. और आज पूरे विश्व में कंडीशन ये है कि आप विश्व के हर एक कोने में कोई न कोई एक योगा इंस्ट्रक्टर पाएंगे, कोई न कोई एक योगा क्लास पाएंगे. हमें ये भी जानना होगा कि योगा की इतनी पॉपुलैरिटी हुई क्यों है. इट इज बिकॉज ऑफ ग्लोबलाइजेशन, इट इज बिकॉज ऑफ स्प्रेड ऑफ इंडियन डायस्पोरा, चेंजिंग लाइफस्टाइल. जहां आज हम देखते हैं कि जितनी तेजी से ब्लड प्रेशर, हाइपरटेंशन, डायबिटीज, अस्थमा की शिकायतें बढ़ रही हैं, people are moving much and much more towards Ayurveda and yoga, which does not have any kind of disadvantage. And since India is the country, India has the origin and roots of yoga, it can benefit it through a lot. अगर एक स्टैटिस्टिक्स की बात करूं मैं, तो 300 मिलियन योगा प्रैक्टिशनर्स हर दिन हमें मिलते हैं. Between 2012 and 2016, American doings yoga has been increased by 50%. And Americans overall spend $16 billion on yoga classes every year. हम एग्जांपल देखते हैं थाईलैंड का, जहाँ पे स्पास बहुत ही ज्यादा मशहूर है. हम एग्जांपल देखते हैं इंडिया के, खुद इंडिया में मेडिकल टूरिज्म का. लोग मेडिकल टूरिज्म के लिए क्यों आते हैं? बिकॉज दे सी इट इज नॉट ओनली चीप, but it also does provide yoga, it also does provide meditation. इसलिए होता है. और थाईलैंड में भी आप देख सकते हैं कि spas are making millions of rupees just by providing meditation. And how they come to know about this meditation and yoga? By India, by Indian culture, by Indian civilization. तो अगर इंडिया को के बारे में, जब योगा के बारे में बात होगी तो इंडिया के बारे में बात होगी. जब इंडिया के बारे में बात होगी तो कहीं ना कहीं एक बात सच हो जाती है कि जो दिखता है वो बिकता है. और इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस में मेकिंग वंस प्रेजेंस फेल्ट इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. अब देखिए कि WHO की एक रिपोर्ट कहती है कि 2025 तक 550 million people will be suffering from diabetes. 1.7 billion people will be suffering from hypertension, and in today's world, in 2020, there are 339 million people are suffering from asthma. Now, if we see that if we can contribute anything to these kind of ailments, to these kind of disease through yoga, it will be very beneficial for us, not just for our economy but for our world image as well. अगर आप इकोनॉमी की बात करते हैं तो I come from Banaras, and I tell you that in every street, in every nook and corner of Varanasi, you will find a yoga class, your yoga institution, where many people, and mainly they are foreigners, they are learning yoga, and the local economy is growing out of it. We hear our Prime Minister saying vocal for local and raising it to global. So yoga is an opportunity to us and we should promote it. Secondly, और योगा की इम्पोर्टेंस आज के टाइम में और ज़्यादा बढ़ जाती है बिकॉज इट इज़ द टाइम ऑफ कोरोना वायरस, COVID-19. आज की दैनिक जागरण में एक रिपोर्ट आई है कि गाजियाबाद में 118 लोग योग और आयुर्वेद से ठीक हो गए. जस्ट थिंक फॉर अ मोमेंट कि अगर इस पे हम रिसर्च करें एंड वी डू फाइंड various benefits of it, particularly for this pandemic, how much it will be beneficial for us, not for our economy, but for our independence in the global arena as well. And it will also be a milestone for it. And as I said before, that it will not only benefit economy, but it will also benefit India's image. People will start talking about ancient civilization, ancient Indian civilization. They will start talking about that the country which is peace loving has its roots in its philosophy, in the philosophy of yoga. They'll talk about why India is considered the country of Vasudha Kutumbakam. It will also make people to people relation between India and other countries very much beneficial. Now with these, I also want to attract your thinking over the thing that we have to go a very long way in the concept of soft power. As Joseph Ne has said, that we should go for smart power, that is mix of hard in economy, military, etc. But to complement it, now what should be done? First of all, I think that many conferences, many discussions should be organized, just like the one where we are speaking today. And as Sanjay sir has said, we have to tell the world that yoga is not just a commodity, it is a philosophy. Yoga has to be and should be and has to be added in the university curriculum. We should also think that how can we improve yoga circuit. And at the last point, I would only like to say that soft power, according to me, is quite a long-term thing. Because आप किसी को थोड़ी देर के लिए डरा सकते हैं, but उसका जब डर खत्म हो जाएगा, तो he is not going to serve your interest. But when he is persuaded, and when he thinks that you are right, he will always understand your thing and he will always understand. He'll always work according to you. और हम ये भी देखते हैं कि इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस में कुछ भी नथिंग इज गिफ्ट वर्ड, हर चीज का एक निहितार्थ होता है। तो इस निहितार्थ को सच करने में योगा एक बहुत बड़ा रोल इसको काफी सर्व कर सकता है। एंड एट द लास्ट आई जस्ट वांट टू से कि इस तरह के डिस्कशन से योगा को और हमें प्रमोट करना चाहिए। एंड हमें लीडरशिप का जो आज एक कंसेप्ट चल रहा है पूरे विश्व में, दैट इज फोकसिंग ऑन इकोनॉमी, दैट इज फोकसिंग ऑन मिलिट्री, money, etc. We should change that notion of leadership. What we should give as the concept of leadership should be centric on our culture, should be centric on society, should be centric on welfare of people, should be centric on Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, should be centric on the concept of Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Santu Niramaya. And only then we can achieve the dream of being a global power. At the last, I want to conclude my talk with the quote of Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore, where he says that India represents the wealth of mind which is for all. We acknowledge India's obligation to offer to others the hospitality of our best culture, and India's right to accept from others their best. So, with this, a very happy International Yoga Day. We have to understand our responsibility towards promoting this soft power, promoting this culture of ours. And last, be healthy, be happy, and do yoga. Thank you.
Thank you, Kriti, for your words. Now moving on to our fourth panelist, I would like to welcome Kunal Shandele over the panel. Kunal, over to you. Kunal? Yeah, please continue. We can't hear you. We can't hear you, Kunal.
Hello.
Yeah. I think there are some issues with your earphone.
Hello.
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yeah. Yes. Continue.
Yeah. Thanks, Team Pratispardha, for inviting me as a panelist for speak on the topics yoga as a soft power cultural diplomacy in the presence of unique intellectuals of India and BHU and I will talk about importance of soft power in post Cold War era. It means modern international orders. First, I will talk about relevance of soft powers because in the time of pandemic, we saw that the ultranationalisms कहेंगे आपकी जो अल्ट्रा नेशनलिज्म है वो कहीं ना कहीं कोविड-19 में या इस महामारी में सबसे ज्यादा दिखाई देने वाली चीज है कि हम देखते हैं कि कैसे हम लोग आज एक दूसरे के लिए नहीं और एक विश्व व्यवस्था में एक मतलब कह सकते हैं कलेक्टिव थॉट शेयर करके या कलेक्टिव हेल्प्स या न करके और हम लोग आज ड्रीम अमेरिका का कॉन्सेप्ट या फर्स्ट अमेरिका, फर्स्ट इंडिया, फर्स्ट चाइना, इन सब चीजों पे बात करते हैं। लेकिन जब हम सॉफ्ट पावर की बात करेंगे तो आज के समय में सबसे ज्यादा रेलेवेंस सॉफ्ट पावर का होता है। लेकिन अभी रिसेंट में जब हम चाइना और इंडिया के बारे में देखते हैं, जब वहां पे जो अभी सीमा विवाद चल रहा था, इसमें हम देखते हैं कि कहीं ना कहीं जो सॉफ्ट पावर है, सॉफ्ट पावर का रेलिवेंस या जो हमारे स्टेट्समैन है उसका सही से यूज नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, जैसा कि मेरा अपना विचार है और जैसा कि हम सोचते हैं। तो इस समय में हमको ये चीज जानना होगा कि सॉफ्ट पावर को यूज कैसे करना है, उसको एज ए डिप्लोमेटिक वे में कैसे हम यूज करेंगे, इस चीज पे हम विचार करते हैं। सबसे पहले हम देखते हैं कि जो हमारा 18th सेंचुरी और 19th सेंचुरी का टाइम था, उस टाइम में हमारे यहाँ जो जो हार्ड पावर था और जो हेजमन था हार्ड पावर का, वो कहीं ना कहीं अब खत्म होता जा रहा है। तो इसमें हम कहते हैं कि जो 19th सेंचुरी ब्रिटेन फोकस न्यू चैलेंजेस, द 20th century's United States will face new challenges because every political every potential states comes on the platforms to fight against each others. हेलो, am I audible?
Yes, Kunal.
हेलो
Yes,
हेलो, हाँ
you are audible.
हाँ हाँ। तो इसमें इसमें हमको देखना है कि जो आज के समय में जो हमारे यहाँ की जो व्यवस्था है उसमें सॉफ्ट पावर के लिए हम लोगों ने कल्चरल वर्ड्स का यूज किया कि कल्चरल कैसे हम जो एक दूसरे के साथ कल्चरली शेयर हो सकते हैं, कि इंस्टीट्यूशनल या कम्युनिकेशन स्किल के द्वारा जो है हम लोगों का जो है इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस या फॉरेन पॉलिसी डील करना होता है। जोसेफ नाइक का कहना है कि जोसेफ नाइक कहते हैं कि पावर को वो लव से इंटैक्ट करते हैं और कहते हैं इजियर टू एक्सपीरियंस देन डिफाइंस और मेजर्स। इट मीन्स हमको लगता है कि कहीं ना कहीं जो सॉफ्ट पावर का कॉन्सेप्ट है वो हमारे यहाँ एस्टेब्लिशमेंट ऑफ पीस, स्पिरिचुअलिज्म्स की जो हम बात करते हैं, वो कहीं ना कहीं हमारे यहाँ जो आत्म प्रेम है और वो संवेदना है, इन सब चीजों को साथ में लेकर चलेंगे तो कहीं हमारा जो सॉफ्ट पावर का कॉन्सेप्ट है इंटरनेशनल रिलेशन में वो सफल होता दिखाई देगा। और जब ये पावर के रिलेटिव कॉन्सेप्ट्स की जब हम बात कर रहे हैं, इसमें कैसे जो है जनरल शिफ्ट हो रहा है पावर का, जैसे कि हम मिलिट्री पावर का और इकोनॉमिक पावर का हार्ड पावर में यूज करते थे, और इस हार्ड पावर का यूज करने के कारण आज हम देख रहे हैं कि नेपाल के साथ जो हमारी विदेश नीति है, जिसमें हम बेटी रोटी के संबंध की बात करते थे, वो कहीं ना कहीं खराब होता जा रहा है, क्योंकि हम इकोनॉमिक जो हमारा जो ये इकोनॉमिक और जो मिलिट्री पावर का यूज करते हैं, ट्रेड सैंक्शन लगा देते हैं, इस ग्लोबल इंटरकनेक्टेडनेस के दौर में, इस ग्लोबलाइजेशन के समय में इट्स डजंट पॉसिबल, ये पॉसिबल होता हुआ नहीं दिखाई दे रहा है। और जब हम बात करेंगे कि ये नेशनलिज्म है, और आज जब हम नेशनलिज्म की बात करते हैं, इंटरडिपेंडेंस की बात करते हैं और नेशनलिज्म इन वीक स्टेट्स की बात करते हैं, तो हम कभी भी न्यूक्लियर वॉर को लेकर के और न्यूक्लियर वॉर मिलिट्री के साथ जो हाईली एक्सपेंसिव है आज के समय में, उससे जो है अपने फॉरेन पॉलिसी को तय नहीं कर सकते हैं, अपने नेशनल इंटरेस्ट को तय नहीं कर सकते हैं। इन सब चीजों के साथ